So, how to stop taking on everyone else's work without letting things fall apart. A subject that my clients know very well. So, my name's Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant. And what I do every day is I work with leaders, I work with high level managers and executives who have found themselves playing the I'm everything to everyone. And it is very easy to work our way into being that person when we get promoted for being good problem solvers, being capable of taking charge, being capable of getting things done. And then as we're promoted into management, what got us there is not going to be the thing that gets us to the next phase. That's going to actually become a trap. And so today what I'm hoping to do is share with you some 3 key shifts that I help my clients do in order to regain their sense of balance, their sense of control, and to start focusing on their role without letting things fall apart. So joining me today is Kay. Kay is part of my team. So Kay is intimately aware and is experiencing, the things that we're going to be covering in this live today. So Kay, what would you like to share about yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Kay. I am the client solutions specialist at In Charge Coaching. I work closely with Melissa to equip leaders with resources and tools they need to lead with clarity and confidence. Today, I am here to give you an employee perspective on and what goes behind the scenes. Um, because I feel like how leaders hold boundaries, you feel it on the team, and it affects how we show up, and how safe we feel to make decisions, and how confident we are to take responsibility. So yeah, I feel like this topic is very important, and I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about what's happening in the workplace that leaders feel like they need to take everyone's work. What's going on?
Mm.
I would start by saying there's a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
There's targets to be hit. There are timelines. There are expectations that are coming from all directions, and we're placed in a position of responsibility for a group of people. And if they don't perform, then it looks bad on the manager or the leader, and we become the door that people knock on if things aren't going our way.
Yeah.
So it's very easy when you hold that much responsibility to actually step in and ensure that things get done. And
Mhm.
isn't it easy when that is a strength? When your strength is forecasting, foreseeing what needs to be done, planning for risk management, problem solving, it's a strength, and you're responsible ultimately for the outcomes.
Yeah.
But the thing that gets us in trouble is when we're feeling that stress and we see the risk, then we step in and we hold the pieces together because we can. But even if we can, doesn't mean that we should, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true.
And it's very easy to say that. It's very easy to say, stop problem solving for your employees, which is like the advice that you're going to get online, correct?
Yeah.
And you know that. Like, I have yet to encounter a client who doesn't know this. So the problem is not the knowing. There are some key shifts that people need to make in order to actually be able to do that, to actually be able to step into empowering and creating a space in which people are capable of stepping up. and that we can be in a space of trusting that people will,
Mm-hmm.
and that we'll get the follow through and actually get things done. And that's when you're able to walk away and know that and trust that things will be okay, that you're not needed every second of every day. I think
Yeah.
problems will get solved, work will get done, things will get delivered on time and with quality. What's coming up for you as you're thinking about this and from the employee perspective here?
Yeah, so honestly, like I've been the person who hesitates and waits. I've been that person like early on in my career as an intern. I have been in roles where I knew if I just like paused long enough, my manager or someone senior would jump in and do it. And in the moment, it feels like relief, but over time, it chips away at your confidence. And that gets you like the difference now. Like I've evolved as a person, as a working professional, moved from roles as an intern to now a manager or leader. So working with you is that when I pause, you don't jump in, or you don't like start giving me solutions. You ask me questions that leads me to the solution, and it helps me make helps me think, and I then walk away having actually like learned something instead of um, you know um, not learning something, which is very important.
Yeah. So let's jump into those key shifts, because I think you're highlighting something really important that kind of leads us into that first piece, which is the role, who we are in relation to the employee. So, sorry, I meant to put that up there. So, we have been traditionally the problem solver,
Hmm.
right? That's an identity that we've taken on, and we're really good at it. And yet, in those moments when employees bring problems to us, do we want to be the problem solver in this case? Because if we continue to be the problem solver, we continue to receive all the problems.
Yeah.
Mhm. So there's three things that you can look at, and I'm gonna give it to you in this fashion, and then I'm gonna add another way of looking at it. I always think about, am I doing for the person? Am I doing it with the person? Or am I supporting the person to do it for themselves? So if you've
Hmm.
been traditionally doing the problem for the person, the problem solving for the person, meaning they come to you with a problem, you think through the solutions, you tell them what to do, then they go to it. You're doing the thinking for them, even if they're ultimately taking the action. So now to go from I'm going to tell you how to think or what to do to you have to figure it out yourself, it's going to be really hard for you to make that quick transition, and it's going to be quite jarring for employees. And
Hmm.
ultimately, they're going to push back. They're not going to be comfortable. They're not going to have the confidence to go ahead with that right away. So there will be a transition in your role from doing for to doing with to supporting them as they do for themselves.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you are in a position right now that you completely do it for yourself. And I am your support. I'm your backup. I will champion you. I will go to bat for you. I will be there anytime you need me to be there.
Yeah, I agree.
But I have zero interference in
Hmm.
your problem solving. All right. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing to think about is, what does the person need? For example, if you are dealing with someone who is new to the company, new to this role, new to your team even. So if there is an element of newness to something, then your role might include some giving direction and some training, because they don't know what they don't know. And so we need to be able to train. That doesn't mean solve the problem for them. That means adding information so that we're building up their knowledge base. That could be historical information about how we've dealt with this problem in the past. It could be information about the business context. It could be information about how we do things. It could be walking them through an SOP. Um, it's information, it's training, and it's telling them what's expected of them very clearly.
Yeah.
Now, if this is somebody who's been with you for a while or who has been in this role and kind of know what they're doing, but they're stuck. So they've encountered something that they may not know how to solve because they're not new in this role, but maybe they're new to the problem, or the problem is just not working out in the way that they're used to dealing with the problem. They're stuck. Now, the reason that they may not be able to, it probably is not a lack of training, right? That they're feeling stuck. It's probably a lack of perspective. It might even be a lack of optimism, not seeing
Mm-hmm.
the options. So here, your role might look like mentorship. Again, not problem solving for them, but sharing with them some of your own experiences to help them see different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, they still get to problem solve for themselves and take the action.
Yeah.
Now, the third category, and I'm slicing that in three categories. We could look at this and slice and dice it in many different ways. But the other category that I look at are the people who are very experienced and they're growing. So these people are going to the next level, which means they have experience, they know what's going on here, they have the knowledge base, they know where we're going, they know how we typically think and make decisions, but they're growing into the next levels in their career. And these people are going to need a coach, not someone who's going to direct and train them, not somebody who's going to share their experiences, but somebody who's able to hold that space and ask those questions that help this person grow into the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So know who you want to be in relationship to your employees. Who are you in this situation? That is not going to be a blanket answer. That's going to be a situation to situation and person to person.
Yeah.
But what we want to stop doing here is stop rescuing and
Yeah.
stop problem solving and stop doing it for people.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're going to get stuck. And it's really easy when the stress is on, when the timeline is tight, to want to slip into it. So I'm not saying this is easy. I'm saying there is a better way,
Mm-hmm.
even though it might mean slowing down a little on the front end, you will get better results. So overall, if you look at the problem solving not as one conversation, but one conversation, the person taking action, then getting the results, that is going to take the same amount of time, but you're going to be building up the person as you go along. And you're not going to be taking on the responsibility. If the timeline is tight, there's a lot of stress, and we're taking on everyone's responsibility, we're going to sink.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot afford to take on other people's responsibility at this time if we want to be our best when it counts the most.
Yeah.
What's coming up for you, Kay, as I'm sharing all of this?
My takeaway is how unique and personalized it is. Like, there's no one size fits all for each
Mm-hmm.
individual or each situation. Like, I feel like my biggest takeaway is before stepping in, ask yourself, am I being a coach? Or am I being a trainer, a mentor, or am I rescuing or fixing the problem? So, yeah, once you have the answer, you know where to go from there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's a very inward, so nobody imposes that on us. This is something
Mhm.
that's decided within and something that we're not really paying a whole lot of attention to. We kind of default into that problem solving mode.
Yeah, yeah, that is the problem with perfectionists.
And it's just and I would say, let's not think of it as a problem, but let's
Mhm.
think of it as a, a way that our brain has operated.
Yeah, yeah.
And so our whole behavioral system is telling us to problem solve because we have years and years and years and years of when there is a problem, right? Our brain does a lot of really great work for us. Our brain is constantly scanning the environment for what's going on, and it's comparing it to everything that we want. And we want problems to be solved. We want to be able to move very and hit our targets, right? So
Mhm.
the
You're
moment
right.
there's a problem that comes into our awareness, no matter what the problem, our scales get tipped, and then there is a flood of emotion, a message, a chemical signal from your brain that's going to flood your body. That
Mhm.
signal is going to be felt as frustration.
Mhm.
The frustration you feel around not the people, but the problem that needs to be solved. And this is always happening, right? Frustration is an emotion that helps us notice issues and problem solve. So that frustration is going to kick in your problem solving behavior. So
Mhm.
if we just stay unaware of it, if we just kind of keep operating on autopilot, then we're just going to keep problem solving, right? Very natural. If it's almost felt like a gut feeling to jump in
Yeah.
and do it, we don't give it a second thought. So we need to slow down and look at, ooh, I'm feeling that frustration. I'm having this gut feeling of I should move and get this solved. And I'm feeling that external pressure of things need to happen fast.
Mhm.
So it is very natural for us to jump in and problem solve. I just want to normalize that. Like it's okay that you're doing that because everything inside of you is operating in such a way to support this behavior.
Mm.
And so, what we're going to need to do is start slowing down and being aware of it happening. So, when I feel frustrated and when I have the urge to problem solve, instead I will insert new behavior. Okay, so, we're going to set up a little mental activation when these pieces come into our awareness, when I feel the frustration or I feel the urge to problem solve. And for you, it might even be felt as an agitation when I feel the agitation, the desire to move quickly. I'm going to insert new behavior, slow down, ask more questions, stay present.
Mhm.
So, one of the issues is as we are getting into this problem solving, we're giving messages to our team. And Kay, you spoke to this earlier,
Yeah.
right? We're telling our team, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. Can you still hear me? I don't know if it's me or Kay here. If you can still hear me, drop a comment. Hmm. All right, well, I'm going to assume that you can still hear me because everything is still moving on my end. And Kay, here we go. Kay's going to join us again when she can. So I'm just going to cover the message that people are receiving. So they're going to receive the message that it's okay, somebody will do it for me. You'll take my responsibility for me when I get stuck. They're also hearing that they don't need to think through this and take any risk, that you're going to do it for them. And people don't like to take risks. So if you're taking the risk and making the decision and moving with something, then they're going to start relying on that. And now we're not practicing the skill of problem solving, of thinking for ourselves, of taking responsibility, of stretching ourselves and our risk tolerance. And here's Kay.
Sorry.
Hello. No
Yeah.
problem. I wasn't sure if it was me or if it was you, so I'm happy to see that it wasn't me, and I just went forward a little bit with my
Hmm.
with sharing my thinking. And then the third thing that's going to happen is trust is going to start eroding. So they're going to start receiving this message that you don't trust them with certain things. Not overall, not because anybody is a bad person here, but if you're constantly jumping in, that
Hmm.
means you don't trust me with this particular thing. And if you don't trust me, maybe I shouldn't trust myself. So now we have confidence starting to erode as well. So if this has been going on for a while and all of a sudden you ask the employee to do it for themselves, like, I'm not going to give you the answer. How about you think through it and you tell me what the answer is? If their confidence has eroded through time, they might feel like they're not capable of giving you an answer that you'll like, or they'll feel set up. So we're going to need
Hmm.
to make this transition very intentionally, deliberately, and keeping our finger on the pulse of how this is being received, and slowly over time making that transition. Is
Hmm.
that making sense to you, Kay? She must be having some issues with her internet. All right, so let's go to the third shift. The third shift that's going to make a big difference for you is to start expressing what you own and what they own. So we're going to start talking about ownership and responsibility. And so there is a lot of assumptions that are made in the workplace. And when I am asked to work with teams, and I'm asked to figure out why people aren't taking more initiative, why they're not problem solving, why they're not moving forward with this, that they kind of hold back and they wait to be told. What I find when I talk to people is that the leaders or the manager assumes that the person know that they have the authority to go ahead and move with something, that they're even encouraged. They might even express it. However, to the employee does not know or believe that they should, that they'll be supported. So we want to start really, really deliberately talking about our expectations, who owns what responsibility, who's going to be making decisions on things, and if a decision is being made, when to consult with us. What decisions can they make on their own? What decisions should they check in?
Sorry.
Clear now. The
My
quality of your video has just improved.
Yeah, thank God.
So the decision making, and then when do they come to you for input, and when do they come to you for approval? So I like to really differentiate between input and approval. For example, when a decision is in Kay's hands, and all decisions in her department are in her hands. And we have expressed and we continue to express very clearly what those decisions are. She'll come to me and she'll ask me for either input or approval. And if she's coming to me for input, she's coming for my 2 cents, and she's going to make whatever decision she's going to make. So I'm going to say, hey, I really like this because of that. I like this option because of that. Your decision. Or here's
Yeah.
the risk that I'm seeing here. Here's the risk that I'm seeing there. Your call. So that's input, but ultimately she makes a decision. Then approval is her checking in and saying, before I move forward, I want you to give me your blessing on this. So then I'm gonna give her the approval on the decision she wants to make. I'm not gonna tell her what to decide, but I'm going to approve it. And then there are decisions that are very clearly mine to make. And we have a set of conditions for her to determine when she needs to bring things to me for me to make a decision.
Yeah.
And we want to be very clear about those things. The clearer you are, the less of the decisions that could be made by other people will come at your desk, which means you have more mental space and more emotional space to deal with the bigger questions, to deal with the more critical decisions that need to be made, to look at the strategy and the long-term planning without getting pulled into every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what's coming up for you, Kay? And I wonder what questions are coming up for you, because I could give a lot of information here, and I'm wondering which way to go, what to add.
So I feel how we work together, we are very clear on like how you say have each our kingdoms, and we decide and we manage what goes on. And you've been very deliberate about what I own and what you own, and when to check in, and where your involvement begins again, where it's imperative, and it is imperative at many certain moments, and that's important as well. So this sort of like creates a shared language of ownership, and that prevents actually confusion and frustration, because I've been in roles where I was like sort of doing everything. There was no clarity on what a person owns, even though there was a job description, but it used to leak away from that. So yeah.
Yeah. And there is job description, right?
Yeah.
Most jobs have a job description, but if you read that job description,
Yeah.
it's very conceptual.
Yeah, it is. It
It
is.
really doesn't clearly state these things.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even if we trace back any time that anything's fallen through the cracks or we've made any kind of mistakes, we can always trace it back to something wasn't expressed.
Mhm. Yeah.
Something wasn't deliberately expressed, which left room for interpretation.
Yeah.
Means if you're operating here and I'm operating there, you know, we're not going to have a smooth handover or workflow.
Mhm.
So what I would add here is deliberately expressing what you own, what they own, how decisions are made, um, how they report, what they report, when they seek your input, when they seek approval. All of these things are not something that you express once, but it's a
Yeah.
constant communication. So for us, it's really in everyday conversation. It's anytime we discuss, we're about to go into a team meeting in a few minutes here. And what we're going to be doing is exactly that. With each item that we're going to discuss, we're also going to talk about responsibility, handovers, decision making, reporting. All of these things are weaved into the conversation. So it makes it really easy and normal for us to discuss
I
these
agree.
things,
Yes,
add that
absolutely.
clarity. And what that also does for me is I know I don't have to guess. I know that we're all on the same page. So there's a lot of trust there.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
know if I step away, things aren't going to fall apart. And I often have to step away for days at a time for client delivery where I'm not available and I'm not capable of being present with my team because of the demand of my work.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know and I need to trust that things are going to continue moving forward in my business. And so those three key shifts, knowing who you want to be in relation to your employee when there's problem solving or you're dealing with any kind of situation, that comes from the inside. Two, you will feel the urge to problem solve. When that happens, have
Yes.
a mental activation which helps you step out of that pattern. It's a pattern. And the more stressed you are, the more likely you are to fall in that pattern. And yet, the more stressed you are is when you really need to be able to have space, to not take
Mhm.
ownership of everyone else's responsibility, but to create that clarity. And third, when you slow down and you start looking at that clarity, we want to start deliberately and on an ongoing basis be sharing
Mhm.
ownership. How are we sharing ownership? Who's going to do what? Clarity is very kind. And I think, Kay, you've expressed before um,
Yeah,
what that does for you, that clarity.
yeah, yeah. It's very important. It creates confidence. It creates trust. We are thriving. Like what needs to be done. So I don't think you could ask for a better work environment than to start with clarity in
And
your
yet,
roles.
what
Yeah.
we're essentially doing is talking about boundaries constantly.
Yeah.
And the moment you like bring in that word of boundaries, people go, oh, but somebody might get upset, and yet for us, it's doing the exact opposite. It's creating trust, it's creating confidence, it's allowing us to own our space, it's increasing the quality of our work, the more output for our work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So, because this is so difficult in communicating boundaries, um, it might feel a little weird in the beginning, starting to communicate these boundaries and this responsibility and the expectations. That's exactly why I've put together a really special masterclass on boundaries and balance so that I can walk you through first the internal clarity and the very specifically what are those boundaries that are going to be needed to set up your team for success and to allow you to start taking
Mm-hmm.
your own responsibility and let go of everyone else's. Okay. And second, then we're going to look at that clarity and we're going to start looking at how we're going to communicate it. So I'm going to have some very specific how to's,
Yes.
some tips and tricks on making it so that you can communicate it in a way that feels good to you and feels good for the receiver of that boundary. And third, we're going to talk about and we're going to cover how to set this up for respect in the long term. How do you
Mhm.
maintain and have a boundary respected, not just by your team, but also your colleagues and your upline? So the thing is we don't want to be just talking to our team.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients have gotten actually really good at leading down, at managing down, and working with their team. But we're more so looking at our colleagues and our upline because we need to bring all of these things into balance. Another keyword
Yes.
there, balance, right? A lot of tensions in play in our roles. We want to bring all of these things into balance. So if you're
Mhm.
looking for a little bit more balance and a little bit more confidence in speaking your boundaries to set yourself up for success, this is a beautiful time to look at that before we get busy in the fall again. So this is, a chance to take a breath before heading into it and head into the fall with more structure, with more clarity, with more confidence, and a lot more balance. So the masterclass is happening tomorrow. It is free. It's a 2-hour masterclass, and it's starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 1 p.m. Atlantic for my Atlantic folks. And you can sign up at inchargecoaching.ca/masterclass. Completely free.
Yes.
It's an investment in yourself so that you can get back your time, your peace, your sanity, and feel good in your role. You don't have to sacrifice yourself or your values to be a great leader.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yes.
Tomorrow, if you join us live, we have a workbook for you. So if you worked with me before, you know I like my workbooks and I like to give you a blueprint so that you can walk away from the masterclass and actually implement and rinse and repeat. The
Mm-hmm.
masterclass is going to be beyond concepts. So, yes, we'll talk about these concepts, but I'm also going to be, as a coach, leading through a series of activities that's going to give you that clarity so that you're walking away with something solid and something that you can start communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So, by this time, tomorrow afternoon, you could be setting some things in place to create more balance for yourself. So, what else do they need to know, Kay?
Well, I think you've covered everything. All I would like to say is if you join us live, I want to highlight the workbook bit because you'll get access to that workbook. And it's an amazing workbook. I say amazing because I've seen how it helps leaders process what they're learning during the session itself. And that's powerful. It's not fluff, it's very practical, and it drives real outcomes. You can come solo, you can bring a peer, you can bring a colleague. And we have had so many leaders come in and say that it was the most valuable 92 hours that they spent in months, or like they finally understand what boundaries is and why it's important and what was missing and how to put that into action. So yes, it's we have had like a wonderful time. So if today's conversation has resonated, I would say like grab your spot. Like Melissa said, it's free, it's powerful, and you will leave with a lot of clarity that you didn't know you needed. And I will drop the links in the comment so you can join us.
Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing with us through the technical difficulties.
Yes. Sorry about
And
that. Yeah.
it happens. And now we're going to go to our team meeting. So thank you, everyone.
Yes.
We will see you tomorrow. Grab your
Yes.
seat right now while you still have time. Bye.